In today's video, we have some more NHL trade rumors to discuss. The teams we're focusing on today are the Edmonton Oilers, the Anaheim Ducks, and the Minnesota Wild. And that's coming up next. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. We review and discuss all 31 NHL teams, so if you're a huge hockey fan, consider subscribing and clicking the bell so you don't miss anything. So as I mentioned off the top here, today we have some NHL trade rumors focusing on the Ducks, the Oilers, and the Wild that I wanted to discuss with you here today. Now, first of all, I'm going to get started with the Edmonton Oilers. Now, apparently the Oilers have been looking to try to add a little bit of depth to their forward positions heading into training camp and have yet to be able to swing a deal. So they are apparently considering inviting some unrestricted free agents to training camp on professional tryouts to see if they might be able to swing a deal to add a forward into their group that way. Although it wouldn't be completely unreasonable here to see them maybe pull off some minor deals as we approach training camp, although I wouldn't certainly expect anything too drastic or substantial. There's plenty of experienced veterans on the open market right now that are UFAs and never get contracts and are unsigned right now that they could certainly consider inviting to training camp. I mean, there's still guys out there like Christopher Stieg, there's Troy Brouwer, as well as Mark Letestu and Tommy Wingels. Now, some of these guys have played with the Oilers in the past, so they're certainly players they're familiar with, so they certainly would know what they're getting in those players. Based on an article that I was reading here, it looks like Chiarelli would like to add an extra forward to the group going into training camp to have a little bit more depth and a little bit more competition at some of the forward positions. So we'll see what the Oilers end up doing here. We could see a minor move before training camp. If not, expect one or two of these guys invited to camp on a professional tryout. Now, jumping over to the Minnesota Wild here, obviously since the season came to an end, one of the big things they did early on was change the general manager. Obviously, old general manager Chuck Fletcher was let go. They brought in Paul Fenton, who came over from Nashville. Obviously, he had a long relationship with Wild owner Craig Leopold, and as of right now, he hasn't really made a whole lot of changes to the existing roster. Obviously, they did sign a couple of unrestricted free agents. I know a lot of people, myself included, were expecting Fenton to maybe make a trade or two to kind of shake things up and see if this team can get moving forward. Obviously, they've had a fair bit of success. They've been a pretty consistent playoff team, but they've yet to kind of get over the hump and really do any damage in the playoffs and go on a long playoff run. So obviously that's something that they would like to do to be able to move forward here. A lot of people think to make that happen, they're going to have to make some changes, and obviously there's some players on that roster, specifically at the forward group, that could certainly use a change of scenery. So for example, we're talking about players like Charlie Coyle and Nino Niederreiter, just to name a couple. They're pretty solid in goal with Devin Dubnyk. They got some pretty solid defensemen back there as well. So it's mainly within the forward group that they could certainly use some change. Now, the rumor I came across was that Paul Fenton has been having a lot of trade discussions. It's just the return offers have been a little bit underwhelming, which is why a move has not been made as of yet. One of the names that was mentioned was Jason Zucker. Now, of course, I think most of those rumors came before he ended up signing his extension with the club. Obviously, he was an RFA this summer, and he got his deal done here not too long ago. Before he got his deal done, there was some speculation they may not want to pay the new salary that he's going to be looking for based on his past success here. But that probably isn't the case anymore. After signing that new contract, I would think they'd be happy to keep Zucker in the lineup. But some other players like a Charlie Coyle or a Nino Niederreiter certainly, I think, could benefit possibly from a change of scenery. But some other guys have been mentioned in rumors as well, including even Jared Spurgeon on the back end. Even Eric Stahl's name has been out there too. There's certainly a lot of debate over how the Wild are going to proceed with him. He's coming off a great season where he really rejuvenated his career. So do you take advantage of that while his value is high and consider moving him along to get a good return? Do you consider extending him and in hope that he keeps up that kind of play longer term beyond this coming season? Or do you just kind of wait it out and see what happens here later into the year? If things aren't going well, he could be a trade deadline deal. You could maybe sign an extension or get traded. There's just a lot of variables when it comes to Eric Stahl and the Minnesota Wild. But he has a name that's been out there. I don't think they're actively shopping him, but apparently there has been discussions where his name has been brought up. Between Coyle and Niederreiter, Zucker, Spurgeon, Stahl, I do expect some type of change to happen, but I don't think it's going to happen immediately. But basically, the article I was referencing here basically said that Fenton has been having a lot of trade discussions. The Minnesota Wild have been very active in talks. They just haven't had a good deal in place with a good return that they were satisfied with in order to move forward and actually close the deal. So I do expect that as we head into training camp, probably early into the year, depending on how things go, at least, wouldn't be surprised to see the Wild make some in-season trades here with some of the players that we just discussed. So either way, Minnesota's been having lots of trade talks. It's just a matter of finding that right deal. We very well could be into the season before we see any significant change in Minnesota. However, I'd like to hear your comments down below. Of all the players mentioned here that have been involved in trade talks with the Wild, which ones do you think they should trade, and what do you think they really need in return to help move this franchise forward? Now, the last but not least team here that I want to talk about today is the Anaheim Ducks. Now, the Anaheim Ducks, obviously, I think, in my opinion, are a little bit of a cap crunch between, not so much right now, but over the next year or two, they're going to have some tough decisions to make, like some other teams as well. They're not the only team in this predicament. One player, in my opinion, that could become a victim of the salary cap crunch in Anaheim is winger Jacob Silverberg. Now, Silverberg, as we know, is from Sweden, got started in Ottawa, was traded to the Ducks in the Bobby Ryan trade a number of years ago now. He's had pretty good success out there in Anaheim, been a pretty good winger, pretty consistent, 40 to 50 point guy. He's going to be a pending UFA next season. I would imagine he's going to be expecting at least a small bit of a raise, if not more, over what he's being paid here today. So if you take a look at what the Anaheim Ducks have committed to their contract situation for next season, already have $66.5 million tied up amongst 13 players. That does not leave a lot of room for a lot of other players. Now, out of those 13 players, that only includes one goalie. So Ryan Miller's a pending UFA. So whether or not it's Ryan Miller or somebody else, either way, they have to pay a backup goalie. So there's a contract that only includes 4 defensemen as well. So now some of the other defensemen they have outside of their bigger 4, like Fowler and Lindholm and Montour and Manson. Obviously, other guys need to play in the lineup. And even if it's younger rookies, either way, there's still only 4 contracts in place next season for defensemen, so they're going to need a couple more D-men under contract as well. So obviously that leaves a total of 5 players, which means there's 8 forwards under contracts. Normally you carry 12, usually sometimes even a 13th guy on the roster, depending on how you decide to structure things. So that doesn't leave a ton of room for a lot of guys. Now, of course, that also doesn't include the fact that right now we still have Nick Ritchie and Andre Kasha are pending RFAs without new contracts for the coming season. So obviously they still have to be signed for 18-19, which hasn't been completed as of yet. So depending on what they get for deals, they'll likely extend them for at least 1 or 2 years. It depends on what kind of contracts they come to here. Either way, they'll have to be under contract or moved along, which I don't expect either guy to be traded here. So it is going to leave them pretty tight to keep everybody in the fold. So Silverberg's heading into the final year of his contract. It was suggested through an article here I read through The Athletic that Silverberg might be an interesting trade piece for the Anaheim Ducks. Now, I'm sure at some point here they wouldn't mind ridding themselves of a contract for a bigger name that's not producing, like a Corey Perry, although that's unlikely to happen given all the terms of the contract, and they'd have to retain a ton of salary, and even then, with the player having so much control, it's likely not going to happen. You're going to see guys like Perry, Getzlaf, Kessler likely ride things out with their contracts where they are. Of course, Ryan Kessler is another interesting point where he might miss the entire season due to injuries and needing time to recover here. So the future of his career certainly is in question for sure. Hard to say how the rest of that contract plays out, but either way, they're going to have a hard time keeping the rest of the band together here, and Silverberg very well might be an interesting piece to see moved out. Now, he's certainly not old. He's only 27 years old, but they do have some younger guys like a Troy Terry and a Sam Steele, etc., that need to be worked into this lineup. I think they're ready for the NHL, and even if they don't get a lot of time this year, they certainly will be ready by next year. So they certainly need to kind of create space. And even though Silverberg's not an older player, he's old enough to be a UFA. They certainly don't want to lose risking him for nothing. So would not be completely shocked sometime this season, possibly, or at least before next year, before the deadline, to see him moved along, maybe for more like a draft picks or for futures like prospects, etc. Something that doesn't have to immediately go on a roster as a cap hit. So do you think it's possible with the Ducks situation heading into next year with only 13 players under contract but taking up $66.5 million that a player like Jacob Silverberg, who is going to be a pending UFA, could get moved sometime during this season? Certainly seems like a possibility. They're going to have to do something here. They've got too many guys that they just can't afford to keep them all. So that's your update for today on NHL Trade Rumors. I'd love to hear your comments down below to hear your thoughts on what you think of these, and we can discuss further in the comment section. Don't forget as well, we recently launched our Top Shelf Hockey merchandise store. So if you want to consider getting a Top Shelf Hockey t-shirt, they're certainly for sale in our Spreadshirt store, which is linked down below in the description. So check that out if you haven't done so already. If you're new to the channel here, I hope you consider subscribing. We cover all 31 NHL teams, and there's plenty of content here for all hockey fans to enjoy. So if you're new, hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button as well. I'd appreciate it if you did. As always, thank you very much for watching, everybody. We will catch you next time.